Marks the grand opening of the Bart and Cherry Starr Museum. It highlights not only their legendary status in the world of football, but also gives the legacy they left behind. In the first alert update, Emily Riley takes us to Rawhide Youth Services in Waupaca County, where the museum's doors are now officially open to the public.
At Friday evening's grand opening, visitors saw the Starr's legacy come to life.
Coming through this museum is going through the lives of Bart and Cherry Starr. Not just the hero status and the celebrities, but who they were as people.
Visitors can see artifacts throughout every stage of the Starr's lives, like love letters, home videos, Packers memorabilia, and much more.
I just thought it was really special that she saved hundreds and hundreds of the love letters and that he wrote her hundreds and hundreds of love letters.
I really enjoyed the office setting and some of the letters that he had written to Brett Favre and to Aaron Rodgers and to Roger Goodell. Just fantastic mementos and a look into the heart of the man and the way that he communicated and supported and encouraged others.
Bart and Cherry's legacy extends beyond football, deeply intertwined with their nearly 60-year commitment to Rawhide Youth Services.
I can tell you, sitting with Cherry, going through some of the displays, that she would be emotional around it. She would tear up, she would cry, she would tell wonderful stories about holding a picture of somebody and recounting a story of this person that had this impact on their life. And so I think they would want that same experience for you to feel what they felt going through it.
For more information on visiting hours and exhibits, we have a link at WBAY.com. In Waupaca County, Emily Riley, Action 2 News.